I think it was Elon that said that GPT is too woke. Is GPT too woke? Can you steel man the case that it is and not? This is going to our question about bias.
Honestly, I barely know what woke means anymore. I did for a while, and I feel like the word has morphed. So I will say I think it was too biased and will always be. There will be no one version of GPT that the world ever agrees is unbiased. What I think is we've made a lot. Like, again, even some of our harshest critics have gone off and been tweeting about 3.5 to 4 comparisons and being like, wow, these people really got a lot better. Not that they don't have more work to do, and we certainly do, but I appreciate critics who display intellectual honesty like that.
Yeah.
And there's been more of that than I would have thought. We will try to get the default version to be as neutral as possible, but as neutral as possible is not that neutral if you have to do it, again, for more than one person. And so this is where more steerability, more control in the hands of the user, the system message in particular, is, I think, the real path forward. And as you pointed out, these nuanced answers that look at something from several angles.
Yeah, it's really, really fascinating. It's really fascinating. Is there something to be said about the employees of a company affecting the bias of the system?
100%. We try to avoid the SF groupthink bubble. It's harder to avoid the AI groupthink bubble. That follows you everywhere.
There's all kinds of bubbles we live in.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm going on like a around the world user tour soon for a month to just go like talk to our users in different cities. And I can like feel how much I'm craving doing that because I haven't done anything like that since in years. I used to do that more for YC.
Mm-hmm.
And to go talk to people in super different contexts. And it doesn't work over the internet. Like to go show up in person and like sit down and like go to the bars they go to and kind of like walk through the city like they do. You learn so much and get out of the bubble so much. I think we are much better than any other company I know of in San Francisco for not falling into the kind of like SF craziness, but I'm sure we're still pretty deeply in it.
But is it possible to separate the bias of the model versus the bias of the employees?
The bias I'm most nervous about is the bias of the human feedback raters.
So what's the selection of the human? Is there something you could speak to at a high level about the selection of the human raters?
This is the part that we understand the least well. We're great at the pre-training machinery. We're now trying to figure out how we're going to select those people, how we'll like verify that we get a representative sample, how we'll do different ones for different places, but we don't have that functionality built out yet.
Such a fascinating science.
You clearly don't want like all American elite university students giving you your labels.
Well, see, it's not about...
I just can never resist that dig.
Yes, nice. But it's so that's a good... There's a million heuristics you can use. That's to me, that's a shallow heuristic because like any one kind of category of human that you would think would have certain beliefs might actually be really open-minded in an interesting way. So you have to like optimize for how good you are actually at doing these kinds of rating tasks, how good you are at empathizing with an experience of other humans.
That's a big one.
Like, and be able to actually like, what does the worldview look like for all kinds of groups of people that would answer this differently? I mean, I have to do that constantly. And so like,
you've asked this a few times, but it's something I often do. You know, I ask people in an interview or whatever to steelman the beliefs of someone they really disagree with. And the inability of a lot of people to even pretend like they're willing to do that is remarkable.
Yeah. What I find, unfortunately, ever since COVID, even more so, that there's almost an emotional barrier. It's not even an intellectual barrier. Before they even get to the intellectual, there's an emotional barrier that says no. Anyone who might possibly believe X, they're an idiot, they're evil, they're malevolent, anything you want to assign. And it's like they're not even like loading in the data into their head.
Look, I think we'll find out that we can make GPT systems way less biased than any human.
Yeah. So hopefully without the...
because there won't be that emotional load there.
Yeah, the emotional load. But there might be pressure. There might be political pressure.
Oh, there might be pressure to make a biased system. What I meant is the technology, I think, will be capable of being much less biased.